Dan and Patty, I just want to thank you for agreeing to participate on this webinar tonight. This is confidential, and as we've agreed upon, this is being recorded. This is an opportunity to talk to investigators and coordinators like Dr. Susky and Patty about what is important to HD families and what is helpful to you both when participating in a research study. What I want to start is with a very important question. What is your favorite football team? This is directed at Dan. What's your favorite football team? NFL.
Before yes, Steelers. No, Steelers.
Okay. Who's your favorite player?
The running back from Alabama.
Najee Harris. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. So I wanted to let you know, I actually have a signed picture of Jerome Bettis with an autograph picture. So I am a huge Steelers fan. I have been since yay high.
That's great.
Go Steelers. So anyway, again, thank you guys so much for being on the call. And I'd like to start with asking, how many clinical trials or research studies has Dan participated in? And
Dan, you're in 2, right? Well, you've been in 2, right? Is it Gen X, Patty? Is that what they call the one that Dan's in? She's on mute, so I can't hear her.
Sorry. He is in Gen Extend right now and was in Generation HD before that. And I believe you're also one of my Enroll participants.
Right, and then the Enroll HD. So
and you as well, Patty.
Would that be 3? Like the one turned into the other. So I guess it's a total of 3 I've been in. Okay.
And Patty also participates in Enroll as a family member.
Oh, right. Great. That is wonderful. So you have experience with observational as well as clinical drug studies.
Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, I guess this question goes to both of you because, you know, Patty and Dan, you're both participating in studies. What motivates you to participate in a research study?
Biggest thing for us and for me in particular is I live in an HD family. HD is really, it's multi-generational. My mom had, some of her sisters had, my one sister had really bad. She just died about a few months ago. My one sister does not have any issues at this point, but there, it really is something that it's really affected my life like a big way. And
his family and
it's a more close family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your sister, but thank you for sharing that. And Patty, how about yourself?
Well, you know, it's so devastating to get the diagnosis, even though that we knew that Dan had a 50% chance. And, you know, whereas when he was in his 20s and 30s, he showed no symptoms at all, or even 40s, you know, but then the symptoms came on strong. And it was so devastating, but it's just, when you get devastating news like that, and then you realize that it can affect your offspring. We have 2 beautiful boys in their 20s. And, you know, we just want to do anything that we can to help the research, because what it does, it gives you a feeling of like empowerment. Like you feel like you're doing something. I think it gives Dan.
I really felt proud being part of the study.
Yeah,
very
you felt proud.
Very proud.
Yeah, and it kind of gave him like a purpose when a lot of purposes are being stripped away from him, his job and all that kind of stuff. So it was very, just to become involved is like more of a positive thing for us. And that's, and we were just gravitating towards that because the news was so devastating, you know.
And we had a great team of people. Dr. Susky, Patty, the whole team, all the nurses, great, really good.
He loves the people.
Very good, very welcoming.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, Patty and Dr. Susky are wonderful. They're part of our Huntington Study Group sites. They're one of our Tiger teams, and it's great working with them. So, we just talked about what motivates you to participate. Now, a couple of the studies that you mentioned were and are long-term studies. So what motivates you to stay enrolled in a study until the final visit or in a long-term study? What's that motivation?
Well, for me, it really, with a long-term study, like with the phone now.
Like what motivates you to stay in this study? Go every month or every other month, and
because like now.
Yeah, like what motivates you to just keep being a participant? Not wanting to bail out.
Well, here's the way I'm looking at it is get a great team of people and part of the HSG group, the whole Dr. Associate, I said that Patricia Conlon, the whole group. You go down there and you just, they're talking to you. They really care about what you're doing. Very sincere people. It just really feels like it's very rewarding to be part of it.
So what kind of barriers? So, as we're talking about what motivates you to stay in the study, it seems that there would be certain barriers that may affect, you being able to participate. And how do you overcome those barriers?
Well, the other thing one of the barriers was the shot for a while.
The lumbar puncture.
It got a little tricky at the end.
With his chorea, he has some, pretty strong chorea, and it's worse when he's a little more tense, and it's a little tense, I guess, getting that lumbar puncture, in your spine and everything. So I think it was really challenging for Dr. Susky and Patty and Dr. Susky's other doctor, who happens to be her husband, but who was doing the shot. They, it was, it was like trying to calm him down to get it. And one time he passed out. Yeah. It was terrible. It was awful. And but it was okay because he got through it. And he was back again the next time. There was nothing that was going to make him stop, but it was, to say it was challenging. It was very challenging to get that shot for him. So that was a barrier, but he overcame it because his desire to participate in the study and be with these people and are, holding on to hope. We don't want to stop that. So that's why we keep doing it.
Okay. And so that gets to one of the questions that I had is, do the risks of having adverse events scare you? And what you just shared right now, I think, is important because sometimes people, will decide that it is too much. And I guess this is a question for all three of you, Patty Conlon included, is that how do you work together as a team to, get beyond that barrier of an adverse event or, communication? When do you set forth that communication about, what to do if there's an adverse event?
You guys want to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
Well, what we try to do at our center is we try to treat every patient as a family member. And we're finding information or asking questions beyond just what's on our piece of paper or beyond what we need to do for the study. In the case of Dan's anxiety around the lumbar puncture, with each patient, we would find out what kind of music they like and play the music that they enjoy. Or sometimes with Dan, I would do some progressive relaxation, just all sorts of things to try to make it easier. And adverse events come up from time to time, and they're not comfortable during the time. But I think what is so important is that we just keep verbalizing how important seeing the study through from beginning to end is important for the amount of data that we're collecting. And even right now, the study that Dan is in, he's not currently receiving the study medication, but he has made the commitment to still come in for all of those study visits so that we can continue gathering information every 2 months as he progresses. And that wealth of information is going to help another study, or perhaps help this study get back on track. So that's very important. And we just try to work together as a team whenever we can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dan?
Yeah.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree that you guys really did a great job, really making it individualized. I really felt like it was great hands. As I'm saying, I sent you an email after it was done, and I said, first class team right there.
Yeah, they did a really good job building the trust. Because when you have trust and you're going through these medical things, and maybe it's not always perfect, and it's not, when you feel like you are being your life is being trusted or whatever, it's like gets you through it. It gets you through it, and then you come back for more. Believe it or not, you come back for more, and it's like, okay, let's do this, and it's good. I mean, we come from people that, we're kind of like, fighters, you know what I mean? Like his family, my family. And we're like, let's do it. We just try to have a positive outlook on it. And because if you don't, where are you going to be? We find that as the only alternative. So. All
right, thank you. And, one thing that I'd like to ask, and this is for you, Patty, is, being a working wife and participating in trials and having Dan in studies that you may have to attend visits, what do you do, or how do you work with the site, with Patty, as well as Dr. Susky, to make it possible for you to, have transportation or get home in time to take Dan? How does that work with you working?
So far, over these last couple of years, it's worked very nicely. And I am a very busy person. I'm a senior manager in human resources for a big mutual fund company in Pittsburgh. And it would be easy for me to be like, I don't have time, but this is our life, and Dan's life is so important to us as the family. So I put it as a priority. So and then my bosses know that at work, but I also have the advantage of being at my job for a long time where I have some vacation. And even with COVID in these last 2 years, it's even become more flexible, and so I am lucky that I don't have like a real rigid job where it's like you have to be here physically from this time to this time, like I can work within it. And it hasn't been a burden, and it hasn't really been a barrier because it's all good. Like it's all about Dan and me too, and our life, the four of us, you know what I mean? And I feel like this is just something to help better the situation. So it's not a problem for me.
Okay. Have you ever had a time, if you don't mind sharing, have you ever had a time where it was maybe difficult? I know you spoke earlier about some difficult times with the lumbar puncture, but has there been a time in one of the studies that you participated in where you really had to sit down and think about continuing in the study, or had any questions or doubts about participating in the studies?
Ever have doubts or questions about participating?
No. One thing that I should mention, I forgot to mention it already. I don't know if whatever. I thought that the HD phone that I was carrying it was continued for a while, and I know even after the lumbar puncture stopped, I still kept carrying the phone. That phone was really great. I love that phone. Man, kept my mind going, kept my body going. Really good stuff right there.
Yeah, so that was part of the study that he's in.
Huge motivation.
It monitored and it tested him, and it give him like brain tests and things like that. But he doesn't do it anymore because the phone died. Yeah. And then they're not doing that anymore. But
that was great.
But he did like that.
Yeah.
And what are you saying that so you're sad that phone is not part
what I'm saying is I really thought that phone was really, really good to have. Man, talk about personalizing it right then to the person.
Great.
Yeah, it kept him
Dan really liked it.
On a daily basis. Yeah. And that's on right now. So I feel like he's missing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, Dan, thank you for sharing that, because I mean, that is very important that you're able to talk to Patty and Dr. Susky and let them know, what is important for you, because then they take it back to the study team and let the study team know. And when we move forward with HD research, we do listen to our families, our HD families, and design studies around what is important for all of you. So I want to ask both, Dan first and then Patty is, do you have any suggestions to offer the teams that are going to be on this call, the teams like Dr. Susky and Patty, that might be helpful for not only teaching potential participants about a study, but helping people to stay in the study from the start to the finish?
Well, I just would advise Patty and Dr. Susky for other places to model themselves after Dr. Susky and Patty in the whole group, because they really like we were saying, that like Patty said, I know we're both Patty, so it's a little confusing. So she said, we treat them like family, like they build trust, that you feel like part of a group, you feel a sense of belonging in the study. When you have that connection, there is less of a chance of them saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like you just don't get that feeling when you're doing it with this group here in Pittsburgh at UPMC. I mean, they just are excellent. I mean, we just can't say enough, really. So if any advice that Dr. Susky and Patty have for other groups, they should follow that, because it's a highly successful, I think, situation.
Thanks for saying that, Patty.
Sure, I mean.
We like to call it therapeutic use of self. So we use our personalities and our backgrounds and our story to make the connection with each research participant that we have. And fortunately for us, we have a very, very good retention rate at UPMC. So I enjoy that. And I know that when people do have to leave a study, that they kind of mourn the loss, or just don't feel that great that they can't come back. So they enjoy it. So it's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patty. And Dan, for you, the question is the same thing, but in summary is that what is important for you to tell Patty Conlon or any other researchers out there about the importance of clinical research and keeping everybody motivated, including the researchers, to participate in research? What is important for you to tell people about studies?
Biggest thing for me, which I mentioned, but it's like really, really, really important, is the fact that HD is a family thing. When it hits you, it hits your family. That's big time right there. So it's got a lot of ramifications that we're dealing with as family. Patty knows it's tough for it. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, research, I mean, like I said, also, I really was proud to be in that study. I really felt proud. Like, all my family, when they found the study, they were like, oh.
Yeah, they were proud of you, Dan. That's right. They were. The research has been a light. And I think HD patients, you know, people that are diagnosed in their family, their close family, you're in the dark. You are in the dark. And research is a light. It transforms you. It really does. And it's a way out of the darkness. And there's darkness that comes, you know, and it especially hits in the beginning when you're, you know, just finding out about it. But it's that rewarding because you're not only helping the person that has HD and the person, you know, the person connected to them in the family, but you're helping future generations. So it's a true light. It's really something that's just so beneficial.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for your participation.
Thank you very much, Jody and Patty and Dan. I just want to let people know Dan is not a participant in the Proof HD study. Wanted to clarify that. It sounds like he was in the Roche studies and the Enroll HD studies. Just now, we're going to have a wrap up by Jody and Patty to talk a little bit about, from a site perspective and from a study perspective, what's important for retention in a clinical trial.
Thank you, Lise. And once again, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Patty, so much for being on this call. I do recognize that the video started a couple of minutes late. So Patty, if you don't mind, I'm going to combine a couple of the questions that we had talked about. First of all, I'm so touched by Dan and Patty, as I always am when I speak to HD families. And that is part of the motivation that keeps all of us going. It is so wonderful that you have someone like Dan and Patty that are so eager to participate, and also that you have such a great partnership with them. So I'm going to give you a combined question. Number one is, can you tell us how you form such a tight connection or such a special bond with them? And then also, if you can follow up with the fact that not everyone is able to be as flexible and as Patty and Dan. So, you know, how do you work with participants who don't have that flexibility when it comes to participating? So I apologize for combining questions, but I know that I need to speed it up a little bit.
Okay. I will try to do my best to address both of those as best I can. So I think that when we have somebody coming in for a study, you have to find a connection with them, whether it be a sports team, whether it be common music that you like, or something common in your story. And in my case, I saw a lot of my own story in Dan and Patty. I came into Huntington's research because I lost my husband to Huntington's disease several years ago. So at that time, I decided to take some of my work experience as an occupational therapist and bring that into Huntington's research. And I feel like my husband's passion lives on in me. And a lot of the people that we get involved with have a passion for participating in research. It's something that not only affects them, but will affect their next generations and things such as that. So it's something that's very important. It is great when we have somebody who is as motivated as Patty and Dan, and as flexible as Patty and Dan. But there are times when we have other family members or other participants who can't have that flexibility. So that's when we have to start thinking outside the box. Can we change our schedule to be able to see them very early in the morning, or see them at different times of day? Very often I'm working over the lunch period, not only because that's when Dr. Susky doesn't have a clinic appointment, but also that's when I can get clinic rooms available. It's always a balance trying to find time. Also just trying to get flexible with transportation, bringing people in. Can we create a network or a team for that family between a spouse and an adult child or a cousin or a good neighbor who can bring that participant back and forth to the clinic and make it a team effort. Another thing that I do is I map out their target study dates well in advance, so that if the caregiver has the flexibility to take FMLA days or days off, they know months in advance when that study visit is going to be. So that's all of the things that we try to do. If all else fails, we do have a car service that we can submit to the study sponsor to see if we can arrange transportation back and forth. And naturally, a car service is just going to let people off down at the curb. So I'm there at the curb to meet them and bring them into our clinic. And those are just some of the things that we do to try to make it easier for people to make their study visits and continue.
Thanks, Patty, for sharing that. And thanks for sharing about yourself as well. Just so others know, one thing that Patty did leave out is the fun, or maybe she just said it a little bit, but the fun that they have. We had some great discussion before we started recording, and I heard a lot of good and funny things that they do to help the participants feel comfortable. So Patty, speaking as a coordinator, but also as a HD family member, can you share what can investigators and coordinators and also sponsors do to help with study retention?
I think the important thing is to make the subject and the caregiver feel like they're part of the team. We always explain the importance of seeing a study through from start to finish. You have to allow the person the freedom of choosing to drop out at any time. But what we want to do is get them to understand the science behind the study, and knowing that we need to try to gather this much information on this many patients for this period of time. And if we fall short of those goals, we may not be able to progress to applying for FDA approval and getting this treatment approved. So that's one of the important things, is making the person understand the science behind it and the importance of staying in the study. Jody mentioned that we try to make our study visits fun. That's just part of my personality and Dr. Susky's personality. So we will celebrate little things, like we will celebrate if sponsor comes with retention gifts. We might wrap them up like a birthday present and give them to them. When they reach a study milestone, we'll give them a certificate and celebrate and call it a graduation. We want to know what's going on outside in their lives as much as right within the study. So very often looking at information beyond just what's on the paper, and making that connection with people. I try to encourage people to attend participant calls if the sponsor is offering that, where they can hear directly from the principal investigator about the study progress, and they have an opportunity to ask questions of the principal investigator. I remember after one study call, the people came into our study visit the very next time and said, "Did you hear that question? That was me." And they were very proud that they got to speak to the principal investigator. And I discussed those calls afterwards to make sure that everybody feels like they're part of this process and all part of this team. The biggest thing is I thank them. I thank them over and over again, because without the subjects, where are we? Nothing happens. So that's my take on it.
Thank you, Patty, so much. And just to wrap up, just in summary, some take-home tips. Retention is ongoing, and I know you already finished enrollment, but really retention began when you started the study, and when you recruit and you enroll in the study, that's when your retention began. But it's all of our responsibility to keep that going and to work with your participants. Know your participants, know different things about them, listen to them during visits, hear if they're having difficulty, hear if they're having a good time. Pay attention and give them time to speak with you. The relationships, we cannot stress enough the importance of the relationships. That really does equal successful retention. And it also, if you think, beyond this study, it also, means that, they're going to be more willing and eager to participate with you again in the future. Rapport and trust. You heard Patty and Dan speak about trust. That is very important for our families. And it helps to maintain participation. And just like Patty just said, always say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do not ever forget. Don't let anybody leave without saying thank you, or come to a visit without saying thank you. And don't lose sight of the big picture. HSG is dedicated to seeking treatments that make a difference, and also improving the quality of life and outcomes for our families that are affected by HD. Because as we all know, when we work with HD, those are our families as well. Thank you very much for letting Patty and I speak today.